Members, we're at the 7th session. Welcome, Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasurer, Mr. Christopher Hui, and his team for coming. This session is about the estimates of FSTB. For public finance, we will handle that at the next session. Members who are interested to speak, please press the request to speak button. Secretary. Thank you, Thank you, Chairman. Members, to contribute to the national strategic goal of accelerating China's development as a financial powerhouse in line with the 15th Five-Year Plan, we'll focus on 4 major directions, namely promoting reform, expanding infrastructure, enhancing capacity, and building connectivity. First, we're committed to optimizing market rules and regulatory regime through reform to enhance efficiency and competitiveness. The Hong Kong EX has already commenced market consultation on various proposals, such as the revision of listing requirements for enterprises with weighted voting right structures, facilitation of secondary listing of overseas issuers, and enhancement of the initial public offerings process, and will implement the enhanced structured product listing framework, and as well as consult the market on the specific implementation proposals for the settlement cycle of T+1. In addition, we will reform the trading unit regime and launch the uncertificated securities market regime this year in collaboration with the Securities and Futures Commission, SFC, Hong Kong EX, and the industry. The next phase will cover proposals including the enhancement of the continuing obligation regulatory framework and the inclusion of more overseas markets as recognized exchanges. The SFC and the Hong Kong MA are implementing the roadmap for the development of fixed income and currency markets, facilitating issuance and liquidity, expanding offshore renminbi business and next-generation infrastructure. MPFA will enhance the process of recovering default contributions from employers and enhance the feasibility of making MPF investments. Insurance Authority will enhance the risk-based capital regime for insurance companies, adjusting risk parameters for the general insurance business and providing capital relief for infrastructure investment. Besides, we will introduce a bill this year to establish a licensing regime for, among others, digital asset dealing and custodian service providers. We'll also set up an accelerator to expedite market innovation, protecting the investors and facilitating the diversification of products and services to professional investors. Second, we're actively expanding in financial infrastructure to lay a solid foundation for long-term development. The Hong Kong MA's CMU OmniClear Holding Limited and the Hong Kong EX are currently studying the establishment of a one-stop multi-asset class post-trade securities infrastructure to cover mainland and Hong Kong equity and debt securities. This will facilitate cross-product and cross-boundary collateral connectivity. The CMU OmniClear aims to establish a digital asset platform by the end of this year. It will support the issuance and settlement of digital bonds. The integrated fund platform on the Hong Kong AX will also expand its service this year, covering fund sales procedures as payment and settlement to enhance market efficiency and lower transaction costs. We're setting up a central clearing system for gold in Hong Kong and have signed a cooperation agreement with the Shanghai Gold Exchange in January this year to establish a high-level and collaborative governance structure for the system. The system is scheduled to commence trial operation within this year. We will also explore the offering of tax incentives to build a comprehensive and efficient ecosystem for gold. Third, we will enhance market capacity and attractiveness through tax measures and product expansion. On the internationalization of renminbi, the government will issue RMB bonds on a regular basis to improve the yield curve, promoting more convenient foreign exchange quotations and transactions between renminbi and regional currencies. We issued the third batch of tokenized bonds with an issuance size of $10 billion in November last year, with an option to settle via tokenized central bank money. The Hong Kong MA will also encourage more digital bond issuance in Hong Kong through digital bond grant scheme. On asset and wealth management, we will enhance the preferential tax regimes for funds and single-family offices. We will introduce an amendment bill in the first half of this year with a view to effecting the implementation from the year of assessment 2025-26. To promote the REIT market, we will introduce a statutory regime to facilitate rates to conduct privatization and corporate restructuring, and will provide a stamp duty waiver for the transfer of non-residential properties into REIT before listing. To boost Hong Kong's appeal as a two-way platform for bringing in and going global, we will announce additional tax incentives and a pre-approval mechanism for corporate treasury centers in the middle of this year. At the same time, we will step up our promotional efforts to attract companies for redomiciliation. On international cooperation, we are actively building a connectivity, fully supporting the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank to set up an office in Hong Kong. Hong Kong will hold for the first time the APEC Finance Ministers Meeting, APEC FMM, this year, and will continue hosting various financial mega events, including the Wealth for Good in Hong Kong Summit and the Hong Kong FinTech Week. Start Me Up HK Festival 2026. The Asian Financial Forum will celebrate its 20th anniversary next year. We will enrich the element of finance, empowering business. That is Finance Plus at the forum. Chairman, my colleagues and I will be happy to answer members' questions. I've just covered the 4 focuses of our work in the coming year. Thank you, Chairman. 18 members have pressed the button. I will read out their names first. Mr. Rock Chan, Mr. Chan Pui-la, Mr. Robert Lee, Mr. Lau Ka-kai, Mr. Tan Kan-chiu, Mr. Chen Xiu-hong, Mr. Chen Chen-ying, Mr. Nick Chan, Mr. Andrew Lam, Mr. Holden Chow, Mr. Adrian Ho, Mr. Michael Ngai, Mr. Ray Wong, Professor Priscilla Lam, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, Mr. Dennis Lang, Mr. Tommy Chung, and Mr. Alan Chan. This session will end at 4:35 p.m. So please be succinct. Don't put more than 1 question. Now each member will have only 3 minutes, including question and answer. I will be very strict with the time management. Mr. Rock Chen, thank you. I'd like to follow up on FS 029 and 36. In 29, the government will establish a brand new account for MPF. I wonder how much estimates need to be allocated for such an account. It is said that we've spent some $53 million on promoting family offices. Do you have a breakdown on the salary of the staff and the cost of roadshows, forums, and cost for inviting international guests? Thank you. Secretary. I will ask the Permanent Secretary responsible for MPF to answer your first question, and then Mr. Lau from Investor Hong Kong will answer your other questions. Thank you. Regarding the full portability of MPF, we're going to establish a new dedicated account to transfer the accrued benefits derived from employer mandatory contributions to the new account, to this new type of designated account. We are still drafting the legislative proposal, and in the end of this year, we're going to submit a proposal to the Legislative Council. As we have not finalized our proposal at this stage, we don't know about the costs that we need to update the system. Thank you. Ms. Lau will answer this question. On promotion of family office, we have a dedicated family office Hong Kong team. The estimates for the office is mostly to be spent on manpower and promotion of family office, including the Wealth for Good Hong Kong and some smaller roundtables and forums. We have a total 17 posts under the Family Office Hong Kong team. So most of the expenses are to be spent on manpower. We don't have a dedicated breakdown for the Family Office Hong Kong team. Next, Mr. Chan Pui-lan. Thank you. I'd like to follow up on question number 17. In the government's reply, they said that they will make use of qualifying deferred annuity policies, the MPF tax deductible voluntary contributions, so on and so forth, to allow people to enjoy tax deductions that amount to some $60,000. Only 28% of taxpayers have tax deductions lower than $60,000. So some 70% of the people have maximized the tax deductions allowed. There are some 44% that have not exhausted their tax deductibles. As only 30% people have exhausted the tax deductible for TVC, and as the upper limit for the QDAPs have exhausted, and some 70% of the people have maximized their allowed tax deduction, can we allow taxpayers to enjoy tax deduction for both the TVC and the QDAP so that they can save up for their retirement? Ms. Cole, please. Mr. Chan's understanding is very much correct. Only 44% have exhausted their allowed tax deduction. So some people have not exhausted their allowed tax deduction. We'll continue to monitor the situation. If necessary, we will make a review. Any follow-up questions? No. Mr. Robert Lee. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to follow up on my own questions. 83 and 84. That's about a cross-product collateral connectivity. The administration talked about infrastructures and collateral connectivity. I wonder if we will have a cross-exchanges arrangement so that we don't just target some products. We need to improve the positioning of our futures and spot products, and we need to promote the development of our futures and derivatives market. Now, in question 84, it is said that qualified institutions are offered tax incentives for conducting gold trading and settlement. But this preferential treatment is not that concrete. There are many members under the gold exchange, so what kind of institutions are able to enjoy the preferential tax treatment? After declared interest, the company that I serve engaged in securities, futures, and gold trading business. Mr. Chan from the Hong Kong MA will talk about the Omni Clear. Well, regarding the CMU Omni Clear, we are expanding the business of the company and we're commercializing it further. It is mentioned in the budget that we are establishing an electronic platform so that we can accommodate transactions of digital assets. The Hong Kong EX is developing a platform to connect collateral, securities, and debt products. Secretary. Now, in terms of gold trading, on the investor end, we have included a precious metal in a legislative proposal on fund and family offices. In the second part of a reply, we said that we're going to offer tax incentives that actually have to do with our clearing and settlement system. At this stage, we have not completed a draft. When we do any form of reform, we are going to communicate with the market.
Mr. Lau Kar-keung, thank you, Chair. I'd like to follow up on the questions that I put 072 and 074. According to the reply, Invest Hong Kong has a dedicated family office Hong Kong team, and it has provided assistance to family offices from APAC and other places to set up presence in Hong Kong and expand business. Comparing to the 200 or so from companies from or offices from Macau, mainland, and Taiwan, the 26 such offices from Europe and Americas are not great in number. Can you share with us your targeted publicity towards ASEAN countries? And as for 074, I'd like to know more about the recruitment exercise for the 36 time limited post to support APAC FMM preparation. Now, for those who perform well after the conclusion of the FMM, will these posts be turned into permanent ones so that we can leverage on their valuable experience? Secretary, now I will ask Deputy Secretary to answer the first question, and then Ms. Lau will answer the second one. As mentioned in the reply, for the 36 time limited posts, they will be filled by serving civil servants. Now, of course, this is a very important event, and we will talk to the Civil Service Bureau. We hope that staff who are experienced and those who have international or global vision will be seconded to help out in this major event. In fact, the same point was raised at the meeting of the manpower panel. Now, at the moment, we propose to set up time-limited posts. There are 36 of them, so as to support this event in October. In fact, the majority of these posts have been filled, and they have started work in our bureau. Right, Ms. Lau, in relation to Southeast Asia and strengthened publicity. Chairman, for family offices, indeed, in the past, we attracted more such offices from the mainland to come because our country has a huge population and people are familiar with Hong Kong. So I'd say that it has been quite efficient in mounting publicity in the mainland. We're able to attract more family offices, but with more incoming talents coming to Hong Kong, we do have some high net worth individuals setting up family offices or companies in Hong Kong. As for ASEAN and offices in APAC, they may not have a very clear structure about family offices. They are prone to opening private banking accounts, and some may turn to Singapore in setting up family offices. Yet we're going to step up publicity in ASEAN countries. In fact, we have worked with some private banks and wealth management companies, and we have gradually increased our efforts in promoting Hong Kong to ASEAN countries. In fact, if you take a look at the numbers in 2024-25, the number of family offices from these regions have been on the rise, and we will continue to focus our efforts on better off places such as Indonesia and Vietnam, the economic growth of which is catching up. Next, Mr. Duncan Chiu, I'd like to follow up on 136. That's a question that I asked. It's a question about the interactive platform of the CNSD. It is said that this platform is supported by using raw data from statistical service by CNSD and information provided by government departments and the public sector. I ask about data from private entities, and the answer is in the negative. My question is, why doesn't the government consider collecting data from the private institutions, especially useful ones, so as to help formulate policies? Will the government consider procuring data from the private sector so as to complete the government database? Now, the second point is about this interactivity of this platform. Now, by saying it's interactive, does it mean that government departments can rely on this platform in formulating policies? How interactive is it? Is it only for internal use by the CNSD? And if this platform is supported by sufficient data, which will help enhance governance of other government departments, will the government consider, say, procuring data from the private sector to further enrich the database, and will the government leverage on AI to help with the work of different government departments? I will invite Mr. Yu, Commissioner for Census and Statistics, to answer this question. Thank you, Chair. In fact, we consolidate data from different departments, as well as the data kept by the CNSD website on this platform for analysis and for access by the public and data users. Now, the member asked about data from the private sector. Perhaps public bodies and banks is actually not within our scope. As for the interactive nature of the platform, now data users comprise the general public, as well as analysts or personnel from schools. If need be, they can access the website, and they can also contact us directly. And that is how interactive it is. As for AI, as mentioned by the member, we strive to further enhance the tools through natural language input. The question asked by the member of the public will be analyzed, and that the relevant data can be retrieved from the statistical database. Next, Mr. Chen Xiu-hong. I'd like to ask about the two replies, 135 and 144. These are two questions put by Mr. Andrew Lam and myself respectively in relation to the cost effectiveness of the CNSD's work in the provision of empirical data. According to the government's reply, it is estimated that in 2026-27, CNSD will be able to simultaneously handle 5 projects with in-depth participation and provide advisory service for around 10 departments. With the estimated fees of $9.5 million, by how much will the CNSD's capacity be enhanced? Since services will be provided every year, does it mean that after setting aside a sum for the infrastructure, the service fees can be slashed in subsequent years? Now, the CNSD also refers to the CNE department's use of AI and big data analytics to enhance the clearance efficiency. Does the CNSD keep statistics to gauge the effectiveness and the amount of resources saved? If not, can you tell us why? Mr. Yu. About $10 million, as mentioned by the member. This is an additional sum allocated for this year so that we can hire additional contract staff, as well as procuring necessary machinery and equipment to provide data services. As for the overall services provided by the CNSD, of course, the $10 million sum will not be able to cover all. We also redeploy resources internally to provide data analytic services to government departments. In fact, we have collaborated with different government departments in order to enhance efficiency. Now, the member referred to one example. This is a collaboration with the Customs and Excise Department. We collected figures and data from the trade documents, and we analyzed whether during the import-export processes we should accord more concerns to some high-risk commodities so that we could go smart and redeploy resources in a more optimal manner. In fact, this has been incorporated in some of the modules of the Trade Single Window Phase 3. I believe later this year or perhaps next year, this will be rolled out so as to further enhance the efficiency of the CNE department. Next, Mr. Ronald Chen. A follow-up question on 006. Now, we don't want to rely on importing talents when it comes to financial services. So the government has rolled out a pilot scheme on training subsidies for fintech practitioners. But in the past 3 years, it seems that the number of participants enrolled and attained the qualifications were not high. In fact, in 2025, 234 candidates enrolled, only 82 completed the course. So the passing rate is not really high, but that's already the highest among the 3-year period. Now, has the government found out why the passing rate is so low? Is it because of the curriculum? Is there a need to adjust the curriculum? In the past 3 years, $2.94 million was set aside for the subsidy scheme. Per capita, that's $14,000, far below the cap of $25,000. Will the government consider raising the subsidy level? At the moment, it's capped at 80%. Can we raise that to 85 or even 90% whilst keeping the same cap of $25,000 so as to encourage more practitioners from different FIs to participate in the fintech training program? I will give the floor to Mr. Kevin Low. Thank you, member, for the question. About this pilot scheme in relation to the number of candidates enrolled and number of candidates attaining the qualifications, there is a time gap. It's a 1 to 2 year course, so the candidate will need to take an exam after completing the course before finally attaining the professional qualifications. So the figures set out here is just the number of participants enrolled. They must complete the course before they attain the qualifications. It's not a matter of passing the exam. The member also asked if we consider increasing the amount of subsidy. Now, we constantly review the situation, and we also work with the Hong Kong Association of Banks as well as the relevant training unit. We collect views on the relevant courses to see whether we should adjust the amount or expand the coverage to, say, the insurance sector. So be reassured, we'll continue to keep in view and introduce further enhancements. Next, Mr. Nick Chen. I'd like to ask a question on 106. Mr. Dennis Leung asks a question on enhancing the efficiency of personal bankruptcy and corporate insolvency management. My question is whether the administration will consider introducing the statutory corporate rescue procedures so that an additional option can be provided for to suspend the liquidation period and allow the third-party professionals to be involved. Secretary. In fact, in the last term of LegCo, we put forward this proposal for discussion by the panel. We discussed the pros and cons of the proposal, which struck a balance between the interests of the employers and the labor sector. Our conclusion was that whilst professionals such as lawyers and accountants have identified the need for procedures to be set up, there are different views from the business sector and the labor sector. They have divergent views on the buyout option, so to speak, and we heeded their views and we did not go further in the legislative exercise. But we're not closing the door. As mentioned by Mr. Chen, we have been liaising with different sectors, including the legal profession that Mr. Chen represents, as well as the accountancy sector. These two sectors have proposed restarting the legislative procedure for the corporate rescue mechanism. But still, before that happens, we need to forge consensus. Now, if my memory serves me right, in this term, there was a discussion in this council as well. And in this discussion, we heard diverse views from members. Well, perhaps after the meeting, we'll continue to talk to Mr. Chen to see when it is an appropriate juncture to do so. we believe we must forge a consensus and ensure that it can be smoothly implemented before we do so. I want to make sure that at the moment we can address different concerns from different sectors so that there is a proposal that can be widely accepted.
Mr. Andrew Lam, I'd like to follow up on question 142 and 144. Both are my questions. They're about the online platform of the CNSD. In the reply, you said that the new platform is going to cover aggregate socio-economic statistics. But however, the platform is not connected to other departments. In the budget, it is said that we need to have a consolidated data platform, and that is our long-term target. It seems that the CNSD platform supports various departments, but the information on the platform does not come from all government departments. I wonder if there is a waste of resources, and I wonder when the CNSD will try to meet our long-term target. In the government's reply to question 144, it is said that they have 5 projects with in-depth participation, and I wonder what factors they take into account when they accord priority to different departments. Commissioner for Census and Statistics. Thank you. As mentioned, the platform is to consolidate statistics released by the CNSD. From the view of statistics, we want to formulate a consolidated platform for cross-theme statistical data analysis. It includes geospatial data and raw data. Second, the member asked about how we accord priority in offering advisory services for government departments. We have to look at the amount of data we collect. We look at also whether we can achieve results speedily before we provide analysis for the relevant departments. We also have to look at our capabilities and technology. For cases that are more technically feasible, we may prioritize them. A quick follow-up question. This data platform is not connected to other policy bureaus. In other words, this estimates is not spent on fulfilling the long-term target set out in the budget. I wonder if the department have any plan to dovetail with the long-term target set out in the budget. Commissioner, this platform is about statistical data. That's under the purview of the department, and it's about the dissemination of data. Regarding your policy-related questions, I think the relevant policy bureaus will have the answer for that. Mr. Holden Chow. Thank you. I have 2 questions. Reply number 38 and 47. Number 38 is a question from Ms. Chick. This is about complaints regarding moneylenders and borrowing of foreign domestic helpers. From 2021 to 2025, there is a great drop in the number of moneylender-related complaints involving foreign domestic helpers. However, there is an increase in the number of assistance from 152 to 264. The number of Debt collectors' harassment is also on the rise. However, the number of warning letters and prosecutions by the police have dropped from 31 in 2021 to 6 in 2025. However, given the number of moneylender-related complaints is on the rise, and the fact that the number of warning letters and prosecutions done by the police is on the drop, I wonder why that happened. Now, reply number 47 is about the EMPF platform. In the government's reply, it is said that the contractors have increased manpower up to 2,400 to handle complaints. The number of complaints is still on the high level, it's about 11,500. I know that you have increased manpower, but do we have any extra measures to lower the number of complaints? Because it seems that people still need help with the platform. I will ask Mr. Wong, Registrar of Companies, to answer the first question, and then Ms. Cole will take the second one. Please turn on his microphone. The speaker is off mic. Ms. Keene Wong, Registrar of Companies. Thank you, Chairman. Regarding the moneylender-related complaints and requests for assistance, I cannot answer this question on behalf of the police. But as we enforce the moneylenders' ordinance and the relevant regulations, we have conducted some due diligence and we have followed up on complaints. If criminal elements are involved, we refer them to the police. Company registry, when we detect non-compliance, say for example, if there is any illegal debt collection activities or if the interest rate charged is too high, we will enforce the relevant licensing conditions and ask the moneylenders to follow the rectification order. We may also issue warning letters to them. When the moneylender apply for renewal of license, we will take into account whether the moneylender is still a fit and proper licensee. Thank you. Ms. Cole, Deputy Secretary. The microphone is not on. Thank you. Regarding the questions and the number of complaints in relation to the EMPF platform, in the fourth quarter last year, a number of larger trustees were onboarded. That's why the number of inquiries and complaints were on the high side. That's within our expectation. Over the past few months, that is in the first quarter this year, we see that the rate of increase of complaints has slowed down. The EMPF company has adopted some new measures. They have increased the manpower. They have enhanced training for their staff. At the management level, they have established a dedicated working group on complaint handling. They also prioritize cases with urgency. For employers and scheme members that have joined the platform for some time, they will get used to it, and I believe that by then we will see a lower number of complaints. Mr. Adrian Ho, thank you. I'd like to follow up on question 51. The United Kingdom withdrew from the 6+1 BNO scheme, and within this year, we'll see a first batch of people obtaining a permanent residency in the UK, and they may withdraw from their MPF account on the ground of leaving Hong Kong permanently. I wonder if the administration will allow this group of people to withdraw their MPF balance on such a ground, and I wonder if the administration have made any estimation on the number of applications and amount involved. In the past, we've seen people making false statements claiming that they're going to leave Hong Kong permanently in order to withdraw from their MPF account. Will the administration enhance the vetting mechanism to make sure that all the withdrawers meet the criteria? Ms. Cole, thank you. Over the past few years, there were quite a number of people who withdrew from their MPF account on such a ground. We ask the trustees to handle each and every of such applications seriously. We do not accept BNO-related documents. When an applicant files for the application to withdraw from their MPF account, they have to offer actual proof. Apart from trustees, the MPFA also conduct random check. There were people who withdrew from their MPF account by making false declaration that they're leaving Hong Kong permanently. We have issued some summons. From 2021-22, we issued some 121 summons on average every year, and in recent years have dropped to some dozen. This shows the effectiveness of our promotional and campaign, or education and promotional campaign. Some people came to Hong Kong to work for a few years, and when they leave Hong Kong to their own country, they can withdraw from their MPF account on the same ground. Thank you. Next, Mr. Michael Ngai. I'd like to follow up on question 120. In attracting the listing of aerospace enterprises in Hong Kong, the administration said that 4 aerospace enterprises have listed in Hong Kong. Aerospace technology have been included in Chapter 18C and benefit from the technology enterprises channel, but the threshold is still high. The R&D cycle of aerospace-related industry is long, investment is substantial. These kind of enterprises need to use different ways to finance their business, and the valuation at the initial stage cannot fully reflect the value of the company. I wonder if the administration will lower the valuation requirement for the aerospace enterprises, and what measures does the administration have to help these enterprises overcome the threshold and challenges? I think the question is about the listing threshold for different industries. Well, we need to make sure that our market is a quality one. Second, the member asked about aerospace enterprises. The Hong Kong EX is actually reviewing our rules, and we are looking into whether the listing mechanism for aerospace industries can meet their financing needs. We hope that these enterprises can finance their business for development. But when we consider adjusting our measures, or when we are formulating guidelines and rules that have to dovetail with our goals, and at the same time we need to make sure that our financial market is of quality. The Hong Kong EX will look into whether there is such a need for us to amend our mechanism or issue any guidelines. Thank you.
Mr. Ray Wong. A follow-up question on 125. That's about the CDI of Hong Kong MA and Cargo X project. According to the reply, and I represent the industrial sector, I want to bring out this very important message, and that when it comes to smart governance, it's not just about dishing out loans to the tune of billions. We want to make sure that these policies are effective. I'd like to follow up on answers A and B. CDI had facilitated over 82,000 loan applications and reviews, but I don't see a breakdown or analysis of the data relating to export and trade of the import, export, and trade of manufacturing industry. We need to find out which industries benefit from the arrangement. I hope that the administration will upgrade the API so as to include indices of different classes of industries for more accurate analysis. The second point is that by using CDI, SMEs will be able to use bricks and mortar as collateral. Now, are there KPIs? Because without KPIs, how do I gauge the effectiveness of Cargo X in promoting the use of bricks and mortar as collaterals? Will the administration consider allowing the collection of data from banks? Secretary, Mr. Chow from Hong Kong MA will take the floor. Mr. Nelson Chow. Now, about the classification of industries and the provision of labels, we will consider this suggestion. At the moment, the commercial data interchange does not keep any data that goes through. It's just a channel for data to go from the consumer to the provider and vice versa. We'll also ask banks for data to form the survey base. Now we'll talk to banks and see whether relevant data is available for the classification of industries. For Cargo X project, the relevant expert panel published the recommendation report. There are over 20 recommendations. Now we're going to take forward some of the 20 recommendations. For example, this year, we will connect to the government's port community system, or PCS, and we will also connect to the trade single window, TSW. The task I mentioned is still ongoing. We will make new announcement. I'd like to follow up on 104 and 105. Now, from the reply in 104, I see that there is interest for aerospace companies to be listed or to expand the business in Hong Kong. Now, this reply is not specific enough, and my follow-up question is this. As I understand, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University is the leading university when it comes to studies in this field. In terms of collaboration among the government, tertiary institutions, industries, and the business sector, will the administration draw up longer-term plans on the cultivation of talents? Now, I remember long ago, the Polytechnic University also helped out in a study with a green group on electric vehicles. We were able to form the concept, but we couldn't see it through. So that's the problem. The next point is reply 105. According to this reply, about 30% of the investee companies are from Hong Kong, while the remainder are from other places. Now, for investees companies under HKIC, are there any terms and conditions or any binding guidelines for them to set up, for example, an R&D center in Hong Kong or to employ a certain number of local staff? Secretary, let me take Professor Priscilla Leung's first question about aerospace companies getting listed in Hong Kong. According to the listing rules, for companies relating to research, exploration, and utilization of hardware relating to aerospace, they can be, or their listing application can be considered under the Specialist Tech Enterprises Arrangement. So we don't rule them out under the current mechanism. The second point is that, as mentioned by Professor Leung as well as other members, these enterprises are potential companies. And in Hong Kong, there is a university that is performing quite well, and perhaps more can be done to further groom the aerospace industry. Now, indeed, we have listed companies in Hong Kong that started off as a research project in universities. And in universities in Hong Kong, we have the tech transfer offices. They take up this role to help these enterprises grow so that they can make use of our financing channel when they get listed in Hong Kong. The second point is about the HKIC, the Hong Kong Investment Corporation. For non-Hong Kong investee companies, after they receive the funds, will they be bound by any terms and conditions? Now, this is not something that we consider. In fact, we consider what benefits they will bring after they invest in Hong Kong. For example, whether they can help enhance the R&D capability in Hong Kong by setting up a production line and recruit local manpower. So we consider a basket of factors in making investment decisions. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. Now, a follow-up question on 079. According to the reply, the administration will tighten the regulation on moneylenders. The company registry will, on a regular basis, conduct physical inspections on the premises of the licensees. So after in the past 5 years, how many such inspections were carried out? Were there irregularities identified? Can you tell us the number of rectification orders issued or number of non-compliant cases identified? Because the number of cases have continued to go up, will you step up the inspection efforts? Because according to the estimates, in the coming year, about $900,000 will be set aside for publicity and education. At the same time, you will tighten the regulatory framework on moneylenders. Now, with existing resources, without additional manpower, how do you make sure that more frequent inspections will be carried out to make sure that law enforcement action will be effective? Secretary. I want to, first of all, give my word of appreciation for the company registry for taking up this extra bit on her plate. Now, I'll give the floor to Ms. Kinney Wong, Registrar of Companies. I do not have the relevant figures, but in relation to the latest situation, we conduct compliance checks on moneylenders pursuant to the moneylenders ordinance as well as the compliance of the licensing conditions. In January, February, and March, we inspected over 50 to 60 times per month. On each occasion, we checked the terms of contract drawn up and signed with the borrowers. In particular, we checked if they are in compliance with the licensing conditions, and that is whether the money lenders have conducted appropriate assessments on the repayment capability of the borrowers. As for rectification orders, in January, we issued 24 of them, and 38 in February, 26 in March. On warning letters, we issued on average 3 to 4 such letters per month. After issuing rectification orders and warning letters, we conducted inspections again to make sure that rectification was indeed put in place by the moneylenders. And as I mentioned, this will be recorded and considered at the time of license renewal. Now, is it a question about existing resources? My question is, with the rise in the number of cases, we'll be able to assure quality without additional resources. The company registry runs on a training fund. Our staff are civil servants. We have about 40 staff members working in the moneylender office. We also have contract staff. We'll continue to step up our efforts with existing resources. Mr. Dennis Leung. Two follow-up questions, 106, 107. These are two questions that I put in according to the administration's reply. Last year, the official receiver's office handled around 12,000 cases, but there are still 60,000 cases outstanding, and that means the backlog was only cleared by 687 cases. So is there a target for the ORO to clear the backlog? And in reply 107, efforts have been made to promote the setting up of family offices in Hong Kong. They also enjoy profits tax concession. According to the reply, only 19 cases applied for the concession. These family offices will also need to adapt to the local market. So, since so few cases have been received, with major resources put in, with the administration review the situation so as to save manpower, resources, and administrative costs. I'll take the second question first about family offices, and then Ms. Chow, the official receiver, will take the first one about tax breaks for family offices. After all, we need to give them time to understand our market. The number of family offices enjoying tax concession here may not directly correlate to whether they set up offices in Hong Kong, because according to an independent third-party survey conducted in the middle of this year, over 3,300 family offices have been set up in Hong Kong. And after rolling out the tax breaks, we see that the number of cases has been on the rise, and we're confident that with step-up publicity and promotion, more and more family offices will come to Hong Kong and they will enjoy the tax concession here. The next the next question is about the ORO. I'll give the floor to Ms. Chow, official receiver. About the backlog of cases, according to the data here, every year, close to 8,000 or even 10,000 orders were issued. So in terms of these cases, we follow up on them in a number of ways. First, we will streamline our procedures as much as possible. For straightforward cases, we have a fast-track arrangement. A dedicated team will handle these cases. And also, starting from last year, in July, we rolled out an electronic submission service to facilitate the submission of documents by creditors or the sectors. The electronic system also helps us prepare summaries or conduct analysis. That way, our colleagues have been able to get hold of information of these cases more expeditiously. About the outsourcing service, we have introduced the arrangement for many years. For cases involving lower sums, such as personal bankruptcy and companies winding up, under the administrative panel scheme, will engage practitioners from the private sector to take up the work. So this helps lift work off our plate. We also adopt digital procedures as much as possible. For example, to process applications online for the certificate of non-bankruptcy or letters relating to the digital opening of accounts. By adopting these methods, we strive to clear the backlog as quickly as possible. If need be, we will also consider employing temp staff to help complete the procedures. Now, let me give you some figures. In 2025-26, for the active cases, including the cases handled by the RO and those handled under the APS, for the cases completed versus non-completed cases, the figure stands at 52%, and that means 52% of cases being completed.
Mr. Tommy Chang, I'd like to follow up on reply 91 about the warehouse facilities for commodities. The administration said that there is not a need to upgrade the relevant facilities. However, the logistics sector of the precious metal told me that the buildings in Hong Kong are mostly multi-story and it's not necessary to be turned into a long-term warehouse. Now, the rent of LME warehouse is higher than that of Singapore and Taiwan. So the sector also want us to reserve space outside the warehouse for open space storage to lower the cost of storage of non-ferrous metal. I wonder if the administration have any plan to talk to the Transport and Logistics Bureau to build a larger non-ferrous metal warehouse and to extend the half-rate tax concessions to the commodities trade to expand the ecosystem. Thank you. Secretary. The member asked about the warehousing requirements. Starting from January 2025 to January this year, the London Metal Exchange has included Hong Kong as an approved delivery point, and we now have 15 LME approved warehouses in Hong Kong storing some 23,000 tons of non-ferrous metals. So there is a demand. Second, when these warehouses want to establish presence in Hong Kong, the Invest Hong Kong and our bureau have been playing the role of coordinator to understand what their needs and demands are. That, of course, covered the loading requirements and accessibility, connectivity factors. As a next step, we will continue to play the role of facilitator in talking to the Development Bureau and the Transport and Logistics Bureau to look into the situation. If there are things that we can do, we will try to accommodate to the needs of the trade. The member also asked about the tax arrangement. Currently, the Transport and Logistics Bureau lead the amendment bill in the tax concession for commodity traders. We have been in close communication with the relevant bureau to make sure that the tax arrangement is in line with our positioning in developing into a commodities hub. Mr. Alan Chan. Thank you. I'd like to follow up on reply number 9. That's my question. I suggest to have the headquarters of Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank and BRICS Development Bank to be established in Hong Kong. The AIIB announced in October that they're going to have their headquarters in Hong Kong. The amount of issuance of these banks amount to some $100 billion. According to the administration information, the issuance sum of AIIB is in Hong Kong account for just 10% of their total amount. So I wonder if the administration have any plan to increase the offshore issuance of theirs in Hong Kong significantly. And I wonder when the BRICS Development Bank will move their headquarters to Hong Kong. Thank you. Secretary, I thank Mr. Chan for his valuable advice on how we can attract more such multilateral banking associations to establish presence in Hong Kong. We were able to lobby the AIIB in establishing a presence in Hong Kong within this year. I'd like to talk to members about the progress of our work. We, as the administration, have signed a relevant agreement with the AIIB to clarify our rights and obligations. Hopefully, within this year, the AIIB can have their headquarters here. The member made a very great point. We don't want to just focus on their physical presence here. We want our economy and community to benefit. Bond issuance is one of the indicators, but we hope that they don't just issue bond here. We hope that they will also make use of the professional services that we have to offer. The component of GDP comprise mostly of service industries. The advantage of our professional service industry is very significant. We hope that the AIB will not just issue bonds here. We hope that they will make use of our professional services, say, for example, our financial technology. And hopefully, they will make use of it. We will bear Mr. Chan's suggestion in mind. We will maximize the utility of the relocation of AIIB so that our city can benefit. Regarding the other bank you mentioned, I will look into it. Mr. Yim Kong, please be very brief. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to follow up on FSTB 132. That's my question regarding the Hong Kong IC. In the administration reply, it is said that the government is still looking into when and how much they're going to further inject fund into the Hong Kong IC. I wonder if we have set aside any money for the injection, and I wonder if the administration will apply for funding allocation from the LegCo. The Hong Kong IC have invested in a total of 190 projects. How many projects have generated positive return? The administration said that they have to wait until the publishing of the annual report before they can tell us the result. But I looked up the relevant numbers in the annual report last year. The relevant figure did not exist there. So I wonder how many out of the 190 projects invested have generated positive return. Mr. Yim, we have limited time. We have only 2 minutes left. Secretary. I think that the member is asking about the return of investment of the Hong Kong IC. We will provide supplementary information after the meeting. I think he also asked whether you will inject further funding into the Hong Kong IC. I asked how many out of the 190 projects have generated positive return. I will provide further information after the meeting. There's still some time left. I have questions regarding reply 133. Over the past 3 years, how many enterprises from Hong Kong and mainland have benefited from the Green and Sustainable Finance Grant Scheme? Mr. Chan from the Hong Kong MA, please. For the past 3 years, 670 applications for the Green and Sustainable Finance Grant have been approved. They involve bond amount to some 190 billion US dollars. So the grant scheme is quite effective. On the issuance of green and sustainable bonds in Hong Kong, well, they are mostly issued by the mainland enterprises. About 70 to 80% are from the mainland. Mr. Johnny Ng, my apologies, time is up. Only a few dozen seconds are left. Please follow on your questions, making use of the standard form. That concludes our session. The next session will start at 4:45 p.m.